Welcome to the C# Programmer Zambia. In this video, I'm going to be introducing to you functions with parameters. Alright, so before we go ahead, I would like you to subscribe to my channel, like this video, and hit the bell icon to get instant notifications on my uploads. Without further ado, let's dive right into it.
It's not a game, it's a rich thing.
Alright, so in this video, I've already prepared the project, the first project that we're going to be using, which is this that is currently on our screen. Okay, so we've got a user-defined function which is not returning any value. That's why it's void. And then the name is print something. And then this time we have a function with an argument. Okay, so the argument is x and it is of integer data type. All right, so this function is simply being used to print out the value of x. All right, so there are two things that you're going to be coming across: the word parameters and the word arguments. All right, so parameters and arguments seem to be confusing to so many people because they fail to identify the difference. Okay, so the difference is very easy. Parameters are simply the names listed, okay, in the parameter list here, and then the arguments are the actual values of those parameters every time the function is called. So in this example, we are going to say we're going to call print something here, but then there is no argument in our parameter list here. Okay, so there is no argument here, meaning that right now we are not printing anything because this method or function is being used to print the value of x. So we can pass any argument, for example 50, which is an actual value to the parameter, which is x. All right, so it will mean that this 50, this x that we've declared here, is becoming 50 now. All right, so if we run our program, you simply, let's just wait for it to run. Okay, so there you go. You can see to say our program outputs 50. Why? Because the argument of this parameter is 50. So an argument is simply the actual value of the parameter. Okay, and the parameter is simply the name listed in the parameter list when declaring the function or when defining the function. Okay, so you shouldn't be getting confused between those two. So right now 50 is the argument and x is the parameter. All right, so let's say we call the function again. This time we're going to call the function with a different argument, but the parameter will still remain the same. It's x. Okay, so you've got one parameter which can accept so many different arguments every time it's called. So let's say 70 this time. All right, so we just terminate there and run our program again. So we can use our function anytime we want to use it. All right, it is not a problem. By the way, our cout statement here is not having an end line, so we can simply just include an end line so that we can have our results in different lines. All right, so this time we can simply say F9, and okay, our function needs to run. All right, so there we go. The first one is 50, the second one is 70. All right, so I guess you get the difference between arguments and parameters and how arguments are passed into our parameters. All right, so let's say we now want our function to, we want the user, obviously, right? We want the user to be able to input the value that they want to print out. Okay, what are we going to do? Obviously, we're not going to use x right now. We can simply say cin x. All right, and then we expect to have something like x there. All right, and x there. Okay, why? Because when we declare parameters inside our function, they are destroyed as soon as the function is exited. All right, so it will mean that this x will not be recognized in the main function, meaning that it is better for us to just declare another variable that we are going to be passing to print something. All right, the function print something. So this time, let's say we declare a variable y. Okay, so int y, and we can simply say cin y. All right, we already had a cin statement. I can simply just change this to y. All right, and then this time we can simply say print something y. All right, so we can just get rid of this one here, and there we go. All right, so this y is going to be the argument of our print something function. All right, so let's say we enter, let's actually get practical. Let's just run our program. So we simply run the program, and there it goes. All right, so if we want to print out 30, we'll obviously say 30, and then to print out 30 down there. All right, so let's now try creating functions that are able to return a certain value. All right, so let's say this function, instead of printing out the value of x, we want it to multiply the value of x by 10. All right, so let's just rename our function to something like by 10. All right, by 10. Okay, I prefer it in words. By 10, something like that. So we can simply say return. Okay, so we're going to return x multiplied by 10. Okay, so this function is simply returning x multiplied by 10. All right, so any value of x that we enter is going to be multiplied by 10. All right, meaning that here we're simply also just going to change the name of the function that we have to by 10. All right, so that any number that you enter, let's say you enter 100, okay, it's going to be multiplied by 10, and your answer is going to be 1000. So let's try to run our program. All right, okay, so there seems to be an error, so return statement. All right, so always never forget to replace this. Okay, from you have to change the void to int. Okay, why? Because our return type for the function has now become an integer. It is now returning something. Okay, so any number that we're going to enter multiplied by 10, we want it to be an integer, so we are going to return an integer. All right, so we simply say int by 10, and then yeah, whatever comes next. So now we can run our program and check out what happens. So this time, if I enter a number, for example 1, it's going to be, it needs to be multiplied by 10. Sorry, I think there is a small error that we've made somewhere. All right, so here we can simply say cout. All right, because we are outputting. I guess you saw we didn't have any statement to output the value. All right, so we can simply say cout. All right, so you can actually use functions in this way. You can output the function in this way. So I guess you can see that now. Let's say F9, and our program runs, and there we go. So this time if I enter 1 is being multiplied by 10, and we have 10 there. All right, let's try another number. Let's run our program again, and we have something like what, 100, and 100 returns 1000. Why? Because our function is multiplying the value of 100 or any other number that we input by 10 and outputting that value. All right, so I guess you can see that. All right, so I guess you might be asking, how about other data types? Okay, why don't we ever use other data types? Well, it's also possible to use other data types. For example, let's say float. So we can declare a function which is actually a float. All right, so we can simply say float, and then we want to be multiplying by 1.5, for example. All right, and well, we're not really going to change our function name right now. It's okay. The function name doesn't really matter, but then obviously you should name your function according to what it is doing. It's just going to be sensible in that way. All right, so this time our function is going to be able to return a float number. So we can also change this to float so that our user can also enter something like 1 point something something, or whatever number that they have, a decimal. Right, so we can simply actually the argument that is being passed on here is an integer, so we can also change that to a float. All right, then we run our program and let's check out what happens. Okay, so this time I'm going to enter a number like 20.333. Oh, I didn't add a point, so 0.333. Okay, so if I press enter, the 20.333 has been multiplied by 1.5, and this is our result. All right, so this was just something to introduce you to functions with parameters. Okay, in the next video we're going to be looking at functions with multiple parameters. All right, so I hope you've understood everything in this video, because this is just an introduction. This should be easy for you, okay, who's come this far. All right, so thanks for watching this video, and see you in the next one.